What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports Match, you guys, with another video. This video, I'm here with my Pittsburgh Steelers 2020 halfback preview. Going to be previewing the halfbacks on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster going into the 2020 NFL season. Going to be telling you guys some guys to look out for, who will make the roster, who will not make the roster. So before I get into it, make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. So when you look at the Steelers halfback group, they have a lot of young halfbacks on this roster. Like, a lot of these guys are fairly young, and they have a lot of talent. Like, all these halfbacks bring something unique to the Steelers halfback room. So when we talk about the Steelers halfback room, we got to start off with the RB1, which is undoubtedly James Conner. Now, James Conner is a really good halfback when he's able to stay healthy. Now, he missed a lot of games last year, and he also left a few games early due to injury. So James Conner, so far this offseason, has been working on and proving his ability to stay healthy by putting in work in the weight room. Like, it was a photo of him that went viral because this dude just got absolutely ripped. Like, this dude is freaking shredded now. So I'm really interested to see what he does this upcoming NFL season. Now, when he was on the field, he had 434 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, and was averaging 4 yards per carry. He also had 34 receptions for 251 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns as well. Now, James Conner, without a doubt, is the best halfback on the Steelers roster currently, and he is the most balanced of all the halfbacks currently on the roster. When you look at the Steelers halfback group, they have a lot of guys that are particularly good at one aspect, but they're not really complete. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, if you want to be a starting halfback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to be able to do a lot of things. You got to be able to catch the ball out the backfield, but you also have to be a productive runner as well. So you can't just be a strictly one-trick pony. Like, you got to get better. You know, the Steelers like having all-around backs. They like backs that can do it all. They like backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield, but also be a good runner as well. And that's what James Conner is. Now, James Conner is going into a pivotal year. It's going to remain to be seen if the Steelers are going to end up bringing him back or not, because he did say that he wants to remain a Steeler for the rest of his career. Now, I always take that for a grain of salt, because, you know, the last Pittsburgh Steeler that said he wanted to be a Steeler for a year was Le'Veon Bell, and we all saw how that went. So he said he wanted to be a Steeler for life. Next thing you know, he ends up playing for the New York Jets. So you got to take everything that these guys say for a grain of salt. But I think James Conner is really genuine when he says that he wants to be a Steeler for the rest of his life. And this is going to be a big year to see how much money he's going to get paid by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he has to be able to stay healthy. When James Conner is able to stay healthy, I think he's one of the better halfbacks that we have in the NFL. So going into this year, undoubtedly James Conner is going to be the starting halfback when Week 1 begins of the 2020 NFL season. Now, the next guy that we have on this list is Jalen Samuels. Now, Jalen Samuels is really unique. So when Jalen Samuels was drafted a few years ago, coming out of NC State, this was a guy that a lot of people didn't really know what to do with him. He could play wide receiver, he could play tight end, and he could play fullback and halfback. So basically, he was like a H-back, basically. So he can do a lot of unique things. And for the biggest question when it came to drafting Jalen Samuels was, how will a team use him, right? And I think the Steelers have used Jalen Samuels really good so far. I mean, Jalen Samuels isn't necessarily a great runner and things like that, but this guy is a really good halfback when it comes to catching the football out of the backfield. He probably has the best hands out of all the halfbacks currently on the roster. He also runs pretty solid routes to be a halfback. So for Jalen Samuels, I think Jalen Samuels is a really solid backup halfback. He's like a spell back, basically a halfback that you bring in on third down situations or passing situations. And he is a really good piece to have in the passing game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, last year he didn't really do that much on the ground. He only had 175 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. He was averaging 2.7 yards per carry, but he did have 47 receptions on 305 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And he's also a pretty powerful back as well. So when you look at Jalen Samuels' role this season is probably going to remain the same like it has been the previous couple of seasons, which is basically coming in on passing situations and things like that, and basically being like another wide receiver in the backfield for the Steelers. Now, the next halfback that I'm really excited for, that I was really ecstatic, was Benny Snell. I was really excited when the Steelers drafted Benny Snell a year ago. He was my favorite player coming out of that draft class. And he had a really solid rookie year, considering the fact that he didn't really get a whole lot of carries until like nearing the end of the season. He had 426 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and was averaging 3.9 yards per carry. Now, Benny Snell, the reason why I like Benny Snell a lot is because Benny Snell is a throwback Pittsburgh Steelers halfback. He's not the flashiest guy. He's not a guy who's going to make you miss with all the shiftiness in the open field and things like that. No, Benny Snell is an old-fashioned, give me the ball, let me find the hole, let me run you over, get yards that way. And that's what we saw out of Benny Snell last year. Now, last year going in, I felt that Benny Snell was probably going to be mostly used in red zone situations, on the goal line and things like that. And that's pretty much what Pittsburgh used him for basically a big part of the season when Pittsburgh was struggling with injuries, especially when James Conner was dealing with the injuries that he had to deal with. So we really saw Benny Snell step up. And I really think that we can see Benny Snell really take over at that RB2 position. I really think that he could end up outplaying Jalen Samuels. Rather does that happen in training camp or the preseason or during the regular season, I think at some point during the season we're going to see Benny Snell get a lot more carries, and he's pretty much going to end up becoming the RB2 on the roster over Jalen Samuels. Because like I said, Jalen Samuels is a good receiving back, but when it comes to being a runner, Benny Snell is a better runner. Now, the thing with Benny Snell is that Benny Snell isn't all that great when it comes to catching passes out the backfield. I mean, his hands are all right, but his hands could be a lot better. And for the Steelers, I mean, when you look at James Conner, you know, can't really... James Conner is a okay RB1, but he's not a guy who you can really give the full workload to. He's not a guy who you can give 20 carries a game to because he can't stay healthy. So, therefore, we can see Benny Snell and James Conner. I wouldn't be surprised if we see these guys both split snaps. You feel me? Like, let's say, for example, James Conner is getting like 12 carries a game. Then Benny Snell is probably getting like around 9, 10 carries a game. That's how I could see this season going for the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of Benny Snell. So Benny Snell probably will end up being the RB2. It's just a matter of when. You feel me? Like, it could be during preseason, or maybe if we even have a training camp, maybe he beats out Jalen Samuels for that RB2 spot in training camp or something like that, or maybe it happens somewhere down the stretch of the regular season. But I do believe that Benny Snell will end up being the RB2 and dethroning Jalen Samuels for that spot. And like I said, I believe Benny Snell is a more talented runner than Jalen Samuels. He's powerful. He's really hard to bring down in the open field, and he doesn't have to, you know, be the more shiftiest guy. He's not the fastest guy, but he is a truly throwback Steelers halfback. Now, the next guy that we have rookie Anthony Mcfarland, who the Steelers drafted in this past year's NFL draft in the 4th round out of the University of Maryland. Now, Anthony Mcfarland is a really explosive back. He reminds me a lot of Ryan Matthews. Now, for those of you guys who don't remember who Ryan Matthews was, Ryan Matthews a few years ago in the early start of this decade played for the San Diego Chargers at the time, and he was really dynamic. I mean, the dude was really explosive. He was a one-cut bat, put his foot in the dirt, boom, he's gone. He was a home run threat, right? And that's what Anthony Mcfarland reminds me a lot. One-cut back, put his feet in the ground, he's out of there. He's a threat to take it to the house at almost any time, right? That's what we saw out of him when he was playing for the University of Maryland. He was pretty much the best player that they had on their team, basically. So, how do I feel Anthony Mcfarland would do, right? So, I don't really think Anthony Mcfarland is going to have all that big of an impact this season unless we end up, you know, having like a lot of injuries or something like that. Maybe James Conner ends up getting injured again. Jalen Samuels suffers an injury or something like that. So unless injuries happens, I don't really see Anthony Mcfarland having a big rookie season. And even then, like, a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers halfbacks don't really bust on the scene as rookies. Like, look at what happened with Benny Snell. You feel me? Look at Le'Veon Bell, his rookie season. So a lot of Steelers halfbacks don't really, you know, burst onto the scene as a rookie. You know, Pittsburgh is a team team that, you know, likes to give rookies time to get a season, to learn the NFL game, get up to speed and things like that. Now, I'm not saying Anthony Mcfarland is not going to touch the field at all. I believe that he will get on the field, but I just don't think he's going to have all that big of an impact. Now, next up, we have guys like Kareth White, Trey Edmonds, and Ralph Webb. Now, Kareth White is really interesting, right? Now, Kareth White was basically more used as like a returner because he's really fast, but he also had a few flashes that he showed he could end up being a potential really good backup halfback. Now, he had 24 carries, but he did rush for 122 yards, and he was averaging 5.1 yards per carry. So Kareth White was really impressive when he had the ball in his hands. Now, will he make the roster? I think he has a pretty good chance because of what he's able to do on special teams, and also he's not too shabby as a backup. But you also got Trey Edmonds. Now, Trey Edmonds is the brother of Terrell Edmonds. Now, I think he makes the roster simply for the fact that he is Terrell Edmonds' brother, basically. And I've never really, you know, it's not really a lot of situations when a team cuts a guy's brothers or something like that. You don't really see that happen very often. So I think if he makes the roster, it'll probably be with his ability to contribute on special teams. So I don't really see the Steelers releasing Trey Edmonds, Terrell Edmonds' brother. Then you got Ralph Webb. I don't think Ralph Webb is going to make the roster, really. It's just too crowded at the halfback group. So it's going to have to be an odd man out. And I think Ralph Webb probably ends up being that odd man out. So if I had to make a depth chart for the Steelers halfback right now, if the season was to begin, without a doubt, James Conner would be RB1, RB2 would be Benny Snell, RB3 would be Jalen Samuels. The fourth halfback would be Anthony Mcfarland. Then you'll have your Kareth White, who probably be on the roster for special teams. You have Trey Edmonds, he'll be a special teamer. Then you have Ralph Webb, who will probably be the odd man out. So let me know what you guys think about the Pittsburgh Steelers halfback group going into the 2020 NFL season. Make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.